Welcome to Glen Moray. We are going to take you through a little tasting of some of our more recent releases that we have within our core range. So we've got 4 little whiskies here that we've lined up to introduce you to, and we'll take you through the different styles that we have. The first one we've got is part of our classic range. This is the Cabernet Classic. This is a whiskey which we have been looking to introduce because for a long time we've had a white wine expression within this range, so it made sense for us to follow through and bring out a red wine expression to sit alongside it for the contrast and comparison. We've got a few different red wine casks in storage, but here what we've selected is a French oak Cabernet Sauvignon red wine cask that we're using. And this is a whiskey which is non-age statement, a mixture of ages, some older and younger stocks, but the average is about 6 years, and it's finished for 14 months within a Cabernet Sauvignon red wine cask from the Medoc region of Bordeaux. And we can see this, the wonderful colour coming through on this whiskey already, the influence that the red wine has had on this whiskey that we have. And this is a whiskey which has spent the first part of its life maturing within a bourbon cask. So what we're getting coming through in the background is just that little kind of slightly creamy vanilla note, which is quite traditional and quite typical within a Glen Moray. And then overlaid on top of that, we're getting the introduction of what the red wine cask can do. And we've got the alteration as well of the wood type. We're using French oak within here. So you get that lovely kind of nutty expression combined with a lovely kind of grape, juicy red berry character that comes through. As soon as you put your nose into this glass, the wine comes through. The wine is quite prevalent within this whiskey. And what we've done with a lot of our classic range is we have quite short finishes as far as the length of time it spends in the cask. Usually about 8 months, 8 to 12 months. Here, by lifting it up a little, giving it 14 months, it's allowing what was in that cask before to have quite a big part to play in the flavour profile of this whiskey. It's very good. Slange. Cheers. So what we've got is a whiskey bottled at 40% ABV, so it doesn't have that kind of intense pepperiness that can sometimes come with the higher alcohol levels. So again, it's just that continuation of that lovely creaminess, which is really quite hallmark Glen Moray in its style, mixed and combined with the lovely fruitiness that the red wine is influencing into this whiskey. So this is a lovely little starter of a whiskey. Whilst within the classic range that we have of our collection of whiskies, they are all quite light. This one, whilst it does have a more of a richness to it than some of the others, it's still quite a soft, gentle, light whiskey with that lovely influence from the French oak red wine barrels. So we've had a little run of new releases here at Glen Moray, and this is why we have this opportunity to introduce you to these new whiskies here. And this is one which, for the time being, the second whiskey we have. So we have our 10-year-old fired oak now. And this is a whiskey which is, as I say, for the time being, it's a UK exclusive, but we are looking to bring this one to other markets going forward. And this is a lovely little addition to our range. The fired oak, what we're doing here is we're finishing in casks which have been heavily charred. A grade 3 char within this, and virgin oak as well. So we're taking a route and a pathway more akin to a bourbon than a Scotch whisky. So we're elevating that sweetness that comes through. Now Glen Moray is already quite a sweet whisky. So we're just adding that extra layer of sweet character to it. So it's maturing for a long time in standard bourbon casks, and then 25% of it is finished for 6 months in virgin oak heavy char casks, and then another 25% is finished for 3 months in heavy char virgin oak casks, and then we combine it at the end. And the heavy charring will help to caramelize the wood sugars, bring that sweetness more to the fore so it's more extractable, but also will act as a little bit of a carbon filter for taking out some of those heavier flavours and characters within the spirit. So again, just a nice, light, soft sweetness. Taking a lot of similar flavour profiles from our 12-year-old, but just elevating the sweeter elements that come through from it. So again, that continuation of the sweetness from the nose carrying through on the palate, and just making this, just for me, I always like to look at whiskies from a seasonal perspective. And I think this is a great summer whisky. I know we don't get much of a summer here in Scotland, but when we do, this is a great one for pulling out and enjoying. And it works really well over ice, and this makes a great highball, so using kind of as a long drink as well. This is a wonderful single malt whisky from that perspective. So this is a nice little tasting. The way we've set this up with the 2 and 2 whiskies, these ones are definitely in the kind of lighter category, so they make a nice little pairing, these two. And then what we're going to do with the final 2 is we're going to step up a gear. We're going to raise the volume a little bit as far as the flavour and the aroma goes within the spirit. And the 3rd whisky we have for your enjoyment today is the Glen Moray 18-year-old. Now this is a whisky which it was the first within our core range that we were introducing that was non-chill filtered. And for me, this is something which really allows the uniqueness of the Glen Moray spirit to shine through. The Glen Moray stills, where we're distilling, they're quite short stills with a low level line arm, so they bring a real oiliness into the spirit. So whilst the spirit is still very sweet, it has a viscosity, has a real thickness of character to it. And for many years we removed that through the chill filtration process. So the 18 allows this to shine through. And what we have is something which, to allow for the non-chill filtration, we have the higher ABV, so we're at 47.2%. And with that, we're maturing exclusively in first fill bourbon casks. So you've got all that rich, full, spicy flavour coming through from the bourbon cask into this whisky. When you bring it to your nose, you get a little bit more of a prickle. You know, that's the alcohol starting to come through a little bit more because we've increased it that little bit. But you've got that lovely kind of subtle hint of ginger combined with a real toffee-like character. Real traditional hallmark Glen Moray flavours, but as I say, just turning the volume up on them, bringing more of that to the table. And when we taste it, this is a whisky which is really traditional Speyside as well as it's traditional Glen Moray. And it brings that lovely kind of honeyed melon character to it, combined with the spiciness that you pick up on the palate. So this is a lovely, well-rounded, balanced Speyside whisky. At 18 years old, first fill bourbon, non-chill filtered, just doing the simple things in life, but doing them really, really well in the 18-year-old. Slange. And with the first 2, we never really looked at the addition of water, you know, because I think that they work and they bring their flavour straight through without adding water. They work really well. With the 18-year-old, we're now in a territory where you may want to add just a little drop of water, and that may help to open out some of the flavour from underneath that slightly higher ABV that's already within there. So for me, you know, out of this tasting, this is real kind of traditional Glen Moray. Traditional Glen Moray. One of my favourites, this one. One of my favourites.
Muy bueno. Muy bueno.
So, last but not least, the final whiskey we've got for you in this little tasting selection here is our newest addition to the range. And this is we just brought this out about 3 weeks ago, and this is our 21-year-old port wood finish. Now previously what we had was a 25-year-old, but we're currently making some tweaks to the range. So we're going to have a 21, and later in the year, beginning of next year, we'll introduce a 30 into the range. So the 21-year-old, what we have is a whiskey which has spent 19 years in bourbon with a 2-year finish in port cask. And much like the red wine cask we had at the beginning, the colour is really indicative of the use of the port cask. It gives it that lovely, almost rosé wine blush colour to the spirit. This is all natural colour in here. And again, like the 18, what we have is a whiskey with a slightly higher ABV, non-chill filtered. And as a company, we're very, very lucky when it comes to port casks. The company that owns Glen Moray is the world's #1 port producer. So we have access to a wonderful collection of port casks. And what we've used here is tawny port casks from Porto Cruz. This is our company's port producer. Now, a lot of the time when we use port casks, you can end up with this lovely kind of tannic, bittery, leathery note. But sometimes that can be allowed to take over the whiskey. And here what we've got is a whiskey where that's allowed to come through, but balanced against that is the lovely fruitiness and sweetness that you get from the use of a port cask also. On the nose, really distinctly port. Pears coming through, yes. Pears is quite typical within our spirit, so we're getting a little bit of the spirit character still coming through, even after 21 years. The bourbon casks, again, are first fill, so they bring quite a backbone to this whiskey, so we're still keeping the kind of traditional flavour, but slightly more buried underneath what the port's providing. At 21 years, wonderfully smooth, but just such a rich tasting whiskey. Longest finish of the collection that we have here. So this is one which will linger and develop and progress on your palate the longer you sit with it. But it's a really nice one to finish off any tasting. Right. Slange, cheers. Cheers. So we're doing this one wrong way around. We should have started with a blend, but this is our Label 5 Classic Black. Now, Glen Moray is one of the key components within this blended whiskey. And this is a blended Scotch, lovely, really versatile, one where we can drink this as a long drink, but it's also perfectly sippable. You know, even after all these single malts that we've tried, this is a whiskey which you can still sit and enjoy. We're on the younger end of the scale, but what we've got is a blend that within it we have 2% of the single malt component being peated malt. Yeah. So it just adds that layer of flavour that would otherwise be missing in a younger blend. So it gives it this kind of bit of depth and bit of complexity that would otherwise be missing, but it adds this smoky edge to it, which is not available in any of the single malts we've tried. So this is about 25% single malt within here. As I say, Glen Moray, the majority component. And we make the peated malt within here. So for 2 weeks of every year, we're running peated malt through Glen Moray Distillery, which gives the distillery a whole new, different aroma. Everything smells smoky for 2 weeks of the year. it's a kind of brief introduction to Glen Moray. You know, we do have a wider range. Before you leave, if any of you do want to try something which is on the shelf that you've not tried, I'll be more than happy to pour that for you and let you have a taste of it. Okay.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Querida gente del mundo whisky, última destilería en Glen Moray. La hemos elegido como la última destilería de nuestra gira, que esto ya fue una travesía en una gira que hemos compartido con 10 miembros de la Whisky Malt Argentina. Va a ser inolvidable para todos nosotros esta gira 2019.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Fue un viaje increíble, llegamos a islas que ni acá conocían, probamos todo, yo me llevo un aprendizaje enorme, compartí varios días con gente hermosa y cada destilería, cada tasting fue distinto, fue una experiencia hermosa. Gracias, Miguel.
La verdad que esto fue toda una travesía más que un desafío, no un viaje. Me llevo un montón de amigos, un conocimiento increíble, aprendí muchísimo, no solo de la destilería, sino de vos también, que a cada rato nos enseñás de todo. La verdad que te agradezco muchísimo este viaje, fue un sueño hecho realidad, honestamente. Es una maravilla y bueno, quienes tengan la oportunidad de poder hacerlo en el futuro, la verdad que no se lo pierdan porque realmente vale la pena.
Miguel, la verdad que un viaje espectacular, lo que recorrimos, la verdad que algo increíble y hicimos un grupo realmente excelente y la verdad que vos sos un 10 más 10.
Gracias, chicos. Pablito.
Dos cosas. Primero, considero que la aventura Whisky Malt, museo, extraordinaria. Nos brindaste el amor que sentís por el producto, nos cambiaste lo que pensamos acerca del whisky. Todos estamos de acuerdo en un agradecimiento general, un viaje hermoso de locos, hermoso porque somos locos por el whisky. Te lo agradezco de corazón y esto me lo voy a llevar hasta el final. Gracias por todo, Miguel. Para todos. Y los que no vinieron, tienen que venir.
Ha sido un viaje impensado, creo que para todos nosotros. Realmente hemos aprendido muchísimo. Cada una de las destilerías que visitamos nos ha incorporado a nuestro conocimiento algo nuevo y, por supuesto, que a todos los que no han venido los invito para la próxima.
Pablito, muchas gracias.
Estoy muy emocionado porque Miguel nos ha dejado participar de un sueño. Este viaje que hicimos es un sueño en el cual él nos ha dejado entrar. Gracias y no se los pierdan.
Bueno, Miki, hermano, muchas gracias, muy agradecido, muy feliz. La verdad que las expectativas que yo tenía de venir a este viaje para mí quizá eran distintas. Yo vengo de Mendoza, no conozco por ahí el grupo de gente. Sin embargo, llegué, hice grandes amigos, conocí lugares que jamás en mi vida pensé que los iba a conocer. Conocí muchísimo de whisky de la mano de Miguel y bueno, hice grandes amigos. Así que yo estoy muy agradecido, Miguel. Te respeto, te admiro y sé que lo que estás haciendo es muy grande y lo sabemos todos los que estamos acá. Así que bueno, gracias y bueno, nos vemos la próxima.
Seguramente. Seguramente muy emocionados todos porque es feo despedirse de un grupo así. La hemos pasado muy bien, hemos recorrido más de 4.000 kilómetros, más de 120 y pico de maltas con single malt, con estos. Y para mí este fue un grupo maravilloso. Este fue un año realmente único, puede ser también por lo que yo estaba esperando, que no pude tomarme el año pasado por la lesión de mi hombro. Extrañaba tanto Escocia que me propuse hacer un viaje, pero un viaje único, y único con esta gente que fue única. No hemos tenido un solo inconveniente, una sola discusión, hemos conformado un grupo de 10 personas que la hemos pasado muy bien todos y hemos compartido entre todos la actualidad del whisky, la actualidad de lo que es Escocia y bueno, y el amor que tenemos los argentinos por esta bebida.